Let me check it and I'll tag you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's a very, I mean, there's been a lot of activity in that area for many,
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, you
I
know
mean,
why? Because it was really inverted. And due to that, all of these ley lines and all the wars started in the territory of ex-Yugoslavia. That was kind of my country until it became Serbia. So, yeah.
yeah, there's just been a lot. And I think too, in that region, the roots are really deep, aren't they? Like the culture's deep, the family histories are deep,
And the
which,
darkness is deep.
yeah, yeah. Well, and the light.
And the light, thus, you know, thus.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess they go hand in hand. Mm.
Yeah, let me just tag you real quick. So we can look. Here we go.
So you're
All right.
me, and then I'll share. Oh, you tagged me. Okay, good.
Yeah, I tagged you. Okay, so I'll just, yeah, people are starting to come in now.
Okay.
They'll be here. Good morning, everybody. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
All right. Oh, is that you? Is that your phone?
I just got off the Facebook, so.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Yeah. Yeah, so welcome, Eszter, from Hungary, Bosnia, Croatia area in a weird little Serbia. As you said, a weird little place. Do you think welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Do you think that your soul chose to plant, to be born there and have that experience?
I think because I mainly grew up. I mean, can you say I grew up in Serbia until I was 17. I chose to go to a boarding school in Hungary because my family is Hungarian. Um, and then we moved to Toronto, Canada.
Wow.
And since I was 17, I was fighting to never have anything to do with Canada, and I'm still here.
Oh, you're in Canada.
Yes. Although I lived back and forth, like I lived all over Europe, and due to my kind of choice of life as an academic and as an artist, so I was traveling for the past 25 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So you've been exposed to a lot of cultures.
Exactly. And I don't think it was my choice. It's just life unfolding, you know.
Right, right. So looking at that experience from the perspective that we all have now, where there's so much multidimensionality, being embodied and, just what we're seeing as we expand. If you look back at all those experiences you had all over Europe, all the different people and the different cultures, can you see this frequency, this awareness that we talk about and do our best to live? Can you see it in those cultures, all those different cultures?
Well, I see it now modulating all throughout the world as I'm traveling, but there's something good about culture, um, heritage. There's something really, really deep about belonging, because I just feel like I've never belonged anywhere. Interestingly, I was born at the time of Yugoslavia, which um, of course fell apart at the beginning of end of 80s, and it became then Serbia, where I live now, and became Croatia and Bosnia and all of these little micro states. And there in Yugoslavia, we were a minority as Hungarians. So we were told kind of, you're not really a Serb or a Croat or whatever you were not one of us. And then in Hungary, they were saying to for us that we are not Hungarian. then it's nice. I came to Canada and I was definitely not Canadian. I was just like one of the immigrants, which is nice. And I didn't speak the language, and none of my family members did. So, um, and then what I saw North America, and I was very, very judgmental at the time. It's very superficial. So why am I getting here? You're asking. Because there is a heart. I find that there is this very deep, even though bleeding heart in Eastern Europe, I find. People are, I don't know how it is now. It must be, it must be globalized and kind of adhering to this superfluous and superficial um, consumer oriented being. But when I was growing up, we really just lived a very simple life. I never called anybody. If I wanted to show up at their house and eat and be merry, we were, that's how I grew up. We didn't have a phone, not because it was backward country. It was just, I don't know, we had everything. We weren't poor. It was a
Right.
socialist country, and we adhered to these big ideologies and followed them. And now I see all of that collapsing. I see all of the kind of nonsensical nature of it too, because I then studied that at
Yeah.
great length as well. um but I find that there's a lot of spirit there, a lot of depth, and I miss it. I miss that in North America, to tell you honestly.
Well, yeah, because it's almost like you're in the rerun, I mean, you described it so well, how the culture, I mean, and I love culture. I think there's a common thread in all cultures, just like a common thread in all religions. There's something you can pick up. There's something beautiful about it, but
Mhm.
the conditioning or the programming down to the family and what to think and the nationalism. And so we sit here in Canada and the US, and it's the same thing. It's becoming unbearable, really, to the spirit, and I think that's not a bad thing, because at the same time, there's an expanding awareness and expanding higher band of frequencies, and people are recognizing and talking about it.
Well, it's zero pointing it. It's zero
Yeah,
pointing all the
yeah,
codifications.
yeah,
And there is something light about North America. Of course, we have this amazing tradition of the natives, which I really want to explore that here. But other than that, what is the culture here? It's consumerism. That's the culture.
yeah. True.
Yeah.
It's true. And it's plastic, and it's becoming obvious. That's part of, the two worlds or the two earths or the great divide or whatever you want to call it. But it's becoming obvious that it's deconstructing. We
Mhm.
just got to remember we're resurrecting.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, it's going to take superpower, most likely, to go through the distortion, but we already know we're greater than the distortion. So how did this happen? How did
Let's
this happen for you?
okay, let's go to genealogy.
No, no, no. Oh yeah, let's go back to the galactic genealogy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you seem very galactic. Did
Mhm.
you have like a wake up experience, or
Mhm.
okay?
Like
How they?
hardcore.
Oh really?
Um,
Okay.
so I don't know. I was always, I just started reading the Vedas when I was 16 years old. And then I read those tenets, and they confused me because they sounded so true, like the only way. But the world itself, for me, just could not comply with those tenets, those very, they would call it sattvic or light teachings. And then I went into academia, dug myself very much into philosophy, and I became more and more unhappy. And I was searching and searching. So, what is the essence? And so, I'm cutting the long story short. Um, and then I have this interesting person in my life. whom I met in Toronto. And he, you know, those people in your life who are these like invisible angels, and he always gave me the right book, the right guidance, the right little word or notion. And then he finally introduced me to our common teacher at the time, who was living in Malta. And he said, I'm in Malta, so I'm meeting this teacher. And I just had a calling. I had a very small child at the time, and I had a calling. Okay, I have to go there for some reason. I was then in Hungary doing a retreat in Vedanta philosophy and yoga. And I just, okay, I went to Malta, and that's where I met my teacher. And the first time I had a private session with him, I re-met Mahavatar Babaji, whose picture is behind me. Not that it matters, but there is this thing, a guidance, you know, in people's lives, and it's called the inner teacher, or the Vedic mm, the Vedic philosophy would call it Antaryamin, or inner teacher. And for me, Babaji kind of came online.
Right.
Yeah, and I recognized all of that lineage, the parampara, the lineage of that teaching, which is the Kriya Yoga, which is very much connected to Kundalini and transmissions, and it just came online like bam. Okay. And then I went through a lot of physical hardships, like my back broke down, so the root chakra, I couldn't walk. And then I went to Thailand to do a retreat with my teacher, and that's where through transmission, it's called the Shaktipat, he transmitted the kind of ignited my own Kundalini. So I think if a soul has that remembrance, I I had the insight that you know, when we work through lifetimes, if you believe in lifetimes, they're all here right
Yes.
now. But
Yes.
um, if you work towards liberation, then it comes online whenever it's meant to come online. So it came online. I had this huge awakening, Kundalini awakening, which for me was just a union with love, light, wisdom,
Right.
you know. And since then, all of this is coming here right now, and everything is put into perspective. All of your struggles, all of why you do things, why you need to do things, and all of this made sense. How I do not really know how to be in this world, meaning the 3D Earth type of place.
Right. Right.
And lately, through beautiful hardships, my soul had directed for me to be brought back to Canada in a very violent manner. And
Wow.
I came back, and I see more of why that happened, and why I need to be here, and why everything that I am negating is testing me more and more. So I either keep negating, or I just I just ease into it. Like you said, trusting the external. You said that, and that really resonated with me, that I am being taught now, guided, how to connect my higher being with my physical being. It's happening. It's just
Yeah.
happening.
Yes.
Intrinsically.
Yes. Yes. That's very true. And I don't know how to say this, but there's a part of the human, I wanted to call it the divine human part of us.
Mhm.
You could even say like the part that we forgot, or the part that was offline, is coming in too, in a way. The body is speaking, but what you said, I think most of all describes it. It's, and I think many of us can say that we've had our own journeys where one way or another, a part of our encoding, if you want to put it that way, has been presented to us by a Babaji or many other faces of the universe, it's almost we're embodying them, or we're turning on the code, or something's happening. But I think there's enough aspects in, because of the shadow work, because of the zero pointing, that we are, starting to have confidence in knowing that, yes, I am my soul. I am soul.
And you
I'm
start
actually, yeah.
trusting. And what I
Yeah.
did mention, and maybe you might find this interesting, is that when I kind of was returned violently here to this country, not that I ever really left, I just left due to COVID. And all of a sudden, I actually live very close to where Franco de Nicola was living.
Mm.
And I didn't know about Franco, by the way. And all of a sudden, because I have this global meditation group, I do these global meditations
Mm.
once a week. And all of a sudden, the people, he recently had died at the time, like 2 years ago. When did it doesn't matter. He died in 19 or 20?
It was in 21.
21.
Yeah.
Yeah, exact. 21, because I returned in 21. Yeah. And then his people somehow found me. Just
Wow.
just found me and started coming to my meditations. And that's how I met Keith. And and interestingly, one of Franco's people, Jamal
I know
Safadi.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
you do. That's
He's
why I'm
cool.
mentioning. He's really cool. And he just started sharing his meditations with me. And as soon as the first meditation, like I did it at home alone, it was like a direct soul transmission. And why I started talking, by the way, because he's here. It's very easy for me to feel this
Yes.
ray. And
I concur about 30 seconds ago.
exactly,
Yeah. I didn't
exactly,
say anything. I said,
exactly,
okay, go
exactly.
ahead.
And Jamal gave me that, and it was like a transmission, and I started crying, like my old way, saying to Franco, as if I've known him all my life. I said, "Why did you leave me here?"
You said that to him? Why did you leave me here? Oh man, what did he say? What did he say?
Just laughed.
Oh yeah, I've had that happen. I guess you could say I got returned to Texas a few months ago, kind of violently. and and as soon as it was a long trip in a car, and as soon as it got started, like like 15, 20 minutes into it, all this stuff started happening. He jumped in, and I said something like, no, he jumped in. He said, "We knew you could do it." That's what he said. He goes, "We knew you could do it." And I said, "Yeah, man, but I did not have to be like this." And he laughed.
Exactly.
He laughed
He
like
laughed.
that. So I got that
Mhm.
laugh. That's very cool. That's very
And
cool.
too, and 2 years ago, I just feel like, not even just 2 years ago, but I just feel like I'm walking fully naked with my soul out here. And it's just eating more and more of the humble pie. And
Yeah. Yeah.
there, but I'm just like really in awe about the wonder, about the lessons, about what can come from great suffering and hardship. Like it's almost like here is the amount of hardship, and then it turns to ecstasy and learning.
Yeah.
And all of this is happening. And then I was also introduced to this concept of the hieros gamos, because I come from this very rigid yogic tradition that oh, relationships are just a mirage and it's just a waste of time. Well, life had a chance to also teach me that I was very arrogant in that respect. So I went to Morgan, and you were organizing a Heroes Gamos group one time, and I even
Mm-hmm.
talked to you at that time around reverse Kundalini. We had this contact briefly.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, and these new contacts, new soul groups that are creating, and you are also this wonderful light that connects us. It's incredible, really.
Mhm.
And I'm hearing Franco is also, you know,
Yeah, I
doing that
can.
or did
This is
that.
cool. Yeah, this is cool to be in a space where I know this is going on. You know it's going on, and I bet you people even watching, can feel it going on, and that we're acknowledging it.
Mhm.
And it's almost like the more we acknowledge it and recognize it and embrace it, the more physical it could get, or the more the
Embodied.
more, yeah, and the senses being able to pick up
Yeah.
Franco's sitting next to us. Yeah.
And it's even
So
more miraculous because, his daughter finally realized the school, which is a very alternative school for children.
yeah, I
And
heard
so
about that.
she had established that lighthouse. And then I am collaborating with another woman. So we have another school like that. And so we're growing these lighthouses where
Wow.
we're also growing a school, a community, a web of interaction that is actually life affirming. And I would I would be really happy to just deal with meditation and transmissions, but I guess this is a calling also to teach and to revise the curriculum to involve these young children already at a very, very early stage into listening to their spirit, because you don't have to teach them that. All you need to do is just point and they remember. And this is what I've been doing lately. It's amazing.
That's awesome. So somebody came up with a curriculum that fit into the system, where kind of like between the lines, it's intended to keep them lit, to not let them lose connection. That's fascinating. Who
I
started
mean,
that?
it's not like somebody I am revising a curriculum now
Okay.
through my academic insight. I am modulating now because you see, I have a bird's eye view, and so I can sift and seep through the information so that I can give it to them in a more holistic manner. And I guess Franco's daughter's school is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's very nature. We're teaching them gardening, we're teaching them meditation and presence and consciousness work, along with the academics, which I don't really agree with, but
Yeah. How young do they start? And
Eszter,
congratulations to Melanie. She's Melanie, right?
Belinda.
And Melinda, I'm sorry, Melinda. Congratulations, and also to you. How young are these kids when
So
they come?
kindergarten, 4 and 5, and until grade 8.
Wow.
Mhm.
Now, so one of the things that you see happening a little bit is people actually taking this energy that we carry in these communities, I guess you could say, into the field physically, like with what you're doing. And Melinda, are you finding a lot of collaborators? Are you finding people open to it?
It's hard.
Okay.
It's hard at the moment to survive. But I have this full trust that it's going to proliferate. I have this embodied trust by now. I'm not doubting.
Right. Wow. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So in Toronto, I would imagine I don't know. Are there pockets of spiritual communities? Or I guess is most of this virtual? I mean,
But for me, Toronto has a very violent vibration. It's a ruthless big city. It's just a minuscule New York wannabe.
mm.
I mean, it's not that minuscule. Like, I don't know how many
Okay.
million, like,
Mm.
15 million people, but but it's a New York wannabe nonetheless. I am outside of Toronto, like 40 minutes by a lake, so I don't live in a very densely urbanized place. it's a harsh environment, I find. But here where we are, it's still bearable. It's very nature oriented, huge lakes, forests, a lot of water all around, rivers. So that's very beautiful.
Wow. Wow. And
Where are
so
you?
have you, what's that?
Where are you in
I'm
America?
right now I'm in Texas. Yeah,
Texas.
I'm down in Texas.
Where were you
Where was I what?
going to ask?
Oh, I can't remember. um no, I mean it's and so have you been navigating these last few years alone? Did you have any, children or around you, or was it mostly, you
Um,
traveling around and working through it all alone?
so my base is Canada, and I was asked to teach in in a yoga teacher training in Malta. So I went there during COVID, and I was stuck there due to COVID as well. And I ended up being in Malta for seven months. And my teacher had established a spiritual center, and it was like people from all around the world who were there, and I was teaching yoga and meditation there.
Wow.
And I took my child. I have a 9-year-old child right now. He's 9 year old. Yes, and we are alone. And my sister lived in Malta at the time, so
Oh,
we
cool.
kind of joined. And then I was brought back here under very interesting circumstances. And
uh Malta's an island, isn't
yes,
it? Okay.
and there are two islands. There's the main Malta Island, and I was
Hmm.
living in on the side island, which is still in this very interesting, intact, quasi intact position. It's called Gozo, and a lot of internet intentional communities started gathering there, and it's very much a nice 5D vibrational
Really?
place, which is beautifully heart centered, and Malta is a beautiful place. So
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't sound like a bad place to get stuck for 7 months.
no, no, I was
And
intentionally just going for 2 months, and then I ended up being there
well,
longer.
I mean, I wouldn't mind 7 months in Malta. That wouldn't be too bad. And there's more and more talk about these kids coming online. That's what I always ask, because it fascinates me. The more and more people coming on, they're typically, fairly young mothers. They're anywhere from, like your age, 9 to teenagers, and it's fascinating. Plus, you work with children. Are you seeing that new, less tainted, unconditioned, higher frequency souls coming through that we've talked
Definitely.
about? Yeah,
Yeah. And what I just said to you before is that Frank was saying the same. That's why he said there's a need for these lighthouses. We don't even have to call them schools. I hate to call them schools. Um, so my child is one of them. I think he came to our family to teach us how to love, by the way. He taught me how to flip out of my self-referencing pity and egoism for sure.
wow,
Um, and the children I work with, I mean, I teach them these very ancient um, teachings of the spirit, but I teach them in a very simplified manner, and they get it. They get it instantly. And then they share their experiences of how connected they are already to spirit, and how, like, just a very simple mode of using the sound om, and they're like, oh, but I feel that my consciousness is so expanded, and how is that? And I'm like, yes, and then we can use that for
that's awesome.
clearing, and we can use it for blessing, and they just know it. You don't even have to groom them into it.
Right.
But I'm
It's
also not
natural. It's
pressuring
natural.
them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
Yes. Yeah.
the old ancient, what, uh universal language. I don't know.
Hmm.
Intuition, telepathy,
Yeah.
memory.
Yeah. and they have it.
Yeah. Now, do you ever hear them say anything? We've had people come on here, they talk about what planet they're from and all this other stuff. And even some that communicate. I know some that actually have relationships,
Yes.
entire families with their aspects. Do you ever witness anything like that? Like them saying they see fairies or anything?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes. And my child was often afraid at night, and I never kind of dismissed it. Children are usually afraid at night, but when I would feel into that he felt into presences, then I would help him clear it, and he also knows how to clear and even heal himself. He already knows that, because I was really blessed. I was really blessed that I awakened early enough as a mother, because I would have gone down the exact same path as my parents, and if we are just repeating the past, then why are we here? And I really had guidance to stop it. So I awakened when my child was 3, which is amazing.
wow. Oh, and it's a girl too.
No,
That's
it's a boy. It's a
oh,
boy.
there's she.
Yes.
Um, so that would have been like 6 years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah. Things move very fast these last few years, but they've never moved faster than they're moving now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like that we had a serious change in the world we live in after the solstice in December? Like with 2023? Like, do you feel like 2023? I don't know how to explain it really,
Yeah,
just
I get what
totally
you're saying.
different.
Totally different in a way that I would describe it as ruthlessly purifying.
Yeah,
It's so fast.
yeah,
It's like one thing after another, but we're also given all the tools to
yeah,
feather the
yeah,
intensity. That's
yeah.
what I find.
That's right. You just got to bring the guts.
Exactly.
You
And
just
the
got to,
guts you need
yeah.
to have. Yes.
You got to bring the
Yes.
and it's so crazy because it's always harmless fear or a program. You
Mm.
know, I I had a long time. It took me a long time to look at things like programs in a certain way. I still felt like they were. I don't know how to explain it, but now I
Try
look at them
now.
and
Try more specifically. So programs were
well, like a program, like a pattern, a behavior due to the programming.
conditioning. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the instant. Okay. So anyway, the I started to look at them almost like a piece of furniture,
Okay.
right? Almost like an inanimate thing.
Mhm.
And it changed my perspective about myself. And then it started changing my perspective about others. And I guess it kind of started removing judgment. I don't know why I started talking about
Mm. But
that.
well,
Well, I think it
but
was because the way you were talking. Oh, anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
you see, I find that I've mentioned to you that my hardship here, I don't want to label myself, but I do feel that I have some kind of a galactic background.
Right.
And it doesn't make anybody special. It's just actually it's making it pretty hard on this planet. And now, especially in the last 2 years, for me, COVID was nothing. Okay, like I didn't live in a COVID reality ever for a second. Yes, it imposed some things on my life, but I didn't feel affected personally that much. But what I feel is that I'm becoming more of a human. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was this academic who had nothing to do with the world. Like you see all these useless books behind me. I read them all. I uh I don't even know how to drive, to tell you honestly. Like I don't have a license.
You don't have a license.
License. Like I am so not practical, and somehow I've been plunged into this world. It feels like I've been plunged here anew, and now I am integrating this higher dimensional knowing with this body mechanism in order to, and I'm hearing that we are all doing this right now, that we're collapsing these chasms. You know, there's a, for me in my own experience, I don't know how it is for you, I never wanted to be here. I feel like I had such a negation towards this very dense realm, but finally through all the polishing of my experience, this chasm is now becoming less and less,
Right,
and
right.
I started trusting the external. And no, first of all, I had to understand how much I didn't trust anything,
Wow, that's powerful.
like
That
anything.
that's that's a powerful admission to self.
Oh yeah.
That is a powerful, powerful thing. Thank you for saying that. That is very powerful.
It's very humbling. And honestly, I go through the streets like lowering my head, just like spirit does it, because I am so thankful for this human experience. I
Yeah.
am deeply humbled. I'm deeply humbled by the love in my life. It's just seeped in a very unusual way, meaning a well, I don't want to call it just romantic love, but like a soul meeting love. And that is also, yeah, I would be very interested what you say to this. So for me, this hero's gamut, of course, it is a uniting within oneself. But then once it starts mirroring in the outside world, it is one of the most fascinating experiences I can say. And that itself now had started slowly weaning me off of this incessant mistrust, distrust, and fear, because I have this fight and flight modality ingrained, which most of humanity has. But because I'm so sensitive, I was living very much from that fear and fright. So of course I can meditate that away in a second, go up to a higher dimension, and there's no fear. But how do you integrate that here? How do you bring it down? And my path, my teaching is all that embodiment. How do you do
Hmm.
that, you know? And so for
Yeah.
me, what I wanted to ask you is that what do you would you say that your relationship, let's say the soul or twin flame or whatever you call it, did that kind of emancipate you out of your fears, out of your mistrust and distrust in this realm? Did it help you in that regard?
God, that's a good question.
Mhm.
Um, okay. I think that what you said about uh, admitting that you don't trust this or you don't trust that, or something like that. I thought that was very profound. I have always trusted for some reason, but behind my trust was I guess you would say, like, my actions were of a love that I thought was love or something like that. So then it became a different kind of thing. Um, I don't know that I can't even answer that question. What I did pick up was your description, and maybe there's a connection, I don't know. But your description, I've heard so many people come on this show say that they did not want to be here,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I think your testimony too is as far as how you evolved and what you've come to, the same people. Like I can say, there's many people have that same or are experiencing that. And these people, to me, you look at them and immediately they're galactic. So to me, these are the ones that didn't have to come, really didn't have to come. I don't feel like I didn't want to come. I feel like I was from the beginning or something. I don't know, here on earth. But I think those people they typically had very traumatic, sometimes violent, I mean, the whole 9 yards, child abuse, I mean, the whole thing. And they're just powerful, powerful, powerful souls, but they're like unicorns.
Yeah.
And I think what you described with the chasm, they are landing. Now there's another group of us that feel like me. And the galactic was a very foreign object. And over the last 10 years, we've become acclimated to that part of us. So it's like almost like there's two chasms that are closing, that are one or something. I don't know, 0 point. I don't know what it is. But it's almost like a bittersweet. It's like a love story.
It is, yeah.
With the most beautiful ending that everybody's just crying. But
yeah, but the journey is actually incredible. I had to, like, I'm 45 now, turned, and I feel now that I've gone through the necessary maturation in the past few years, that I'm saying, okay, I matured into this somebody who is ready to serve, ready to learn more, and ready to just evolve. I don't really adhere to know anything. I'm just here to be open and listen by now, because the teachers that I've been learning from, they adhere to David Hawkins's levels of consciousness table.
right.
And
Right.
especially the teacher I worked with, he developed it further. And why we don't need to give numbers to consciousness, but what it's helping me is that it describes the stages of your evolution, and everybody is on a pathless path. I know that. But there is certain stages where I entered into inner light. It was it I knew I entered into inner light, or inner heart, or inner love, or whatever the stages were. And now I'm at this phase of this cosmic heart opening, where you're just in this seamless dark womb of a void that's pregnant with such pure potentiality of I can't even describe it, awe. It's love, it's wisdom, it's knowing. But at the same time, that knowing is only reference moment to moment. It's not like, oh, this person knows something, but that knowing just pours out at that right moment when it needs to. And it's always coming from this deluge of love and openness and sincerity. It really, really asks such level of sincerity from you, and sovereignty too. I'm noticing wherever I'm not sovereign, where I'm trying to please, where I'm trying to accommodate others, where I'm trying to be, the old good codependent, and it's constantly correcting you, it's course correcting you moment to moment.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful for this is where I talk about the antaryamin, the inner teacher, where that's online. Then you start trusting, you start opening in that knowing. And it's not really my person who knows anything.
That's right. It's yeah. It is a it's a multi-dimensional awakening, but as that occurs, there's also almost like a multi-streaming from the human. the perspectives. I mean, I think part of the embodiment, if not the embodiment, is described as being able to put yourself in everyone else's shoes, because we're all subjected to the same thing. So let's take the personal out of it. That's what I was talking about when I was saying programs. Let's take the personal out of it and recognize it as a program where we put ourselves into a realm where we're fixing this shit, you know? Yeah. But with the kids thing, that's fascinating. I would imagine just being around those kids like every day would be uplifting, would be expanding. You know, almost like their frequencies, like tuning forks, would naturally bring up any of us that have been, you know, on the earth for 40, 50, 60 years, you know, because that's a lot of condition, no matter how strong a soul we were.
But you see, let's not romanticize this, because what I'm looking at and why these lighthouses are essential at this time is that these children, so if they're tuning forks, yeah, then let's tune them to the right frequency. What's right? Okay, we can have a discussion on that.
What you're saying is let them remember their frequency. Don't let them, you're saying don't let them forget their frequency. So there's really nothing to, like, that's what you said when you first said it, which was brilliant. So they don't forget. You said something like that. So yeah. And I think things like this is a good example, because again, we've had a lot of people come on the show that were involved in their purpose with children, that were very passionate like you, and very, you know, had obviously downloaded and been guided that direction. So I would, we can't underestimate the number of these initiatives around the world.
Yeah.
Right. And someone like you might know that better than others because you've been in so many different cultures and countries.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I was kind of asking that first question. I was just kind of saying, do you see, I guess, yeah, you would have to. There'd have to be cells or little.
Yes, but what I was trying to get at is that these children come and they're already, even by the age of like grade 3, what is that, 8, they're
Yeah.
already inundated by the lunacy of them being raised by technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because their vibration is so malleable, they're beautifully malleable, like and they come and they're these walking chaoses. And what I've noticed, and I pray that our civilization would be moving towards deepening our oneness with source, which is full consciousness, is that, you know, when somebody's holding that presence, the more I deepen into presence, there is such a miraculous reverberation of them embodying the same presence in the classroom. So by now, we can be in a meditative state, inquiring into the nature of reality for like 45 minutes, ages 9 to 14, I think 13 by now in my class. So that is miraculous, because what happens is that it's almost like, imagine you open a field of heart and wisdom and presence, and they then are allowed to bloom in there. And their blooming is so fast. It's so immediate, you know? And I'm seeing this as I'm given more and more opportunity to experiment with them. This is the future of teaching.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm pointing, okay, do you notice that your consciousness is not just connected to this body mechanism? And for them, it's much easier to know that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they're still playing in that.
Exactly. They're
You know,
still playing in that.
I've had like and they're really just, you know, they come and go, but these memories, these very vivid memories of when I was like 3, 4, 5 years old in my backyard in my own little universe, I'm back there, and it's very, very conscious, and you know, I'm talking like smells and feels and everything, and I realized after a while that it was kind of, you know, re-anchoring or bringing that back or something. You know, we often address the code, the hidden code, the you know, the strands that are turned off, or you know, whatever it is, or removing blockages. But you know, from, let's just say, the other incarnations and aspects, but this childlike wonder frequency, I think, is a huge part of us coming back into the 0 point, if you want to call it that.
I agree. I agree with that. And they can teach us a lot.
That's what I meant earlier. Yeah, like they're it's like that's the language that you and those like you are making sure that they don't forget is the one that we are less fluent in. So that's really what they're communicating to us, is they're closer to it than we are. But we have the foresight in this incarnation to go, we can't let them get off the rails with this tech, you know,
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's
the food preferences they have, and maybe the food is not that much of a deal, but that also clogs their high
oh yeah.
vibration.
Well, yeah, you can't be feeding them like what they feed in the public schools. I mean, you know, I mean, they're more resilient than we are. They haven't had the exposure to you know, to all the poisons, but why you know, why start it?
Yeah.
And like you said, they're malleable. So if they start out that way, and look, I've heard of too many kids, met too many kids that are picking up on this kind of stuff. And it's interesting too, because a lot of the parents that come on here and talk about their kids, it's like their kids are kind of like your story. They're like, they know they're not from here. They know this isn't real, you know, they already know. So that's funny to hear some of those stories.
You know, we always laugh that Ezra, my son, was, I think, 3. And he just kept asking his mom, this is bothering me. This question is coming up all the time. He's like, but why are we here? What is the purpose of all this? I'm like, good one.
That is cool.
And I've
So
given him so many answers.
I know you see some funny memes out there like that sometimes, when they'll post with the kid and the mom. So how long have you been doing the meditations, and how long are the meditations, and you know, what's that evolution been like?
So I've been into meditation and inquiry, you know, the non-dualist Advaita Vedanta inquiry, and I've been doing them very intensively 6 years. I myself would meditate for like 8 hours a day or more, so that helped me. That was an initial phase of that germinating, but it's only now that I can say to you that I know how to meditate. Because you know, it takes a lot of time to deconstruct the samskaras, the patternings of the mind and the imprinting. So now I can just really be in the unknown and not fear it. And you know, I love this description of enlightenment, becoming so open that there's no attention and focus any longer anywhere. Yes.
Hmm.
So try it. There's always an attention and focus somewhere in the field of your presence. So once I'm not saying I'm enlightened, but I just gave you a definition of enlightenment,
Hmm.
that this openness is now sometimes so expansive that it frightens the ego, because it's starting to catch on and grab on to something.
Hmm.
So I've been doing this very intensely and inquiring into the nature of reality for quite some time. And then the groups there's this global group, and I do a transmission and meditation. So we might work on something that opens up in the field, any type of karmic blocks adhering to
So it's kind of like when you do it, the energy comes up. In other words, it shows its way.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly,
I got you.
because spirit is leading.
Right.
And I guess you know this, when you use Kundalini leads you. Kundalini allows you to direct that electric force and connect it with the magnetism and then heal. Yes, and it guides you where those blockages are in the hologram. It could be an individual body hologram, it could be the hologram of the whole group. And when you set the intention, it's very powerful. And the same
Yeah.
way in my sessions, that we do the same on one-on-one, and it's very interesting. I always meet the person in front of me, where we have both the same wounding, the shadow, the
Right.
whatever we needed to work through, and then our higher selves are working on it together. It's really
That's
miraculous.
true. I mean, that's truly the Helioscomus template. I mean,
That's it. Yeah.
to some extent. I mean,
Wow.
to the extent that you're exchanging codes, it's an equal energy exchange.
Yeah.
I think that's yeah, an equal energy exchange. Got you.
Yeah.
Saying something else too.
And in another thing, like what's coming online for me in the past 1 year, which is really miraculous, is this Magdalena code. The Jesus
Mm,
Magdalena, that they had a hierogamic relationship
right.
of using their Kundalini in order to create these light pillars that can actually uh, bring down the light onto this realm. And that's why we're here, to hold that light. And it's miraculous how I would describe it, honestly, Todd. My light, it's like this flame is igniting another person's flame if they are ready.
Right.
And it's very powerful. And
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with ego or might or
No.
special abilities. It's just a matter of readiness.
Well, I think there's a relationship between that connection or vibration or energetic field that it creates or power that it creates, and what, at a minimum, what the potential is for the external, the shared experience. I mean, yeah. I mean, because I mean, even if you look at lucid dreams or other dimensional or out of body experiences, that type of thing, we're familiar with this energy, and it is healing. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I like the approach that you have of whether it's an individual or a group, and I know the power of the groups are huge, um, but the holograph, laying everything out as a holograph. Because for me, when I heard you say that, I thought, wow, that's good. And I'll tell you why. But for me, because just like I was referring to programs, I've changed my perspective on programs. I've taken the pain out of it. You know what I mean? I mean, I've gotten over, oh, I'm a human and I went through the suffering programs and whatever. Okay, I'm done with that shit. So it's the same thing to me. To look at that as a holograph, that that computes for me better
Yeah.
because I know I'm my higher self.
Yes.
I know I am.
Yes.
It's just one and the same, and this is it. Accept it. And that holograph allows me to see what I'm feeling, which is like the fingertips of my soul
Yes.
touching, something or eating something, or you know what I mean, or you know what I
Yes.
mean,
It has
carnally
that
experience.
computational ability, because
Yeah,
the hologram is very wide. It can transgress into many dimensions.
right, right.
And this is when I talk about presence. And the presence thing, the I am presence, is that you could call it that Christed realm of knowing. It is like a field of presence thing. It's very hard to explain it. It sees what is going on in the hologram, by the way. It's just really magnificent. And once it is even wider and higher than the higher self. It's more expanded than that, the presence consciousness. And Todd, ultimately what I am really training is to go beyond energy, because a lot of spiritual whatever people who are learning how to be multidimensional, they're still stuck in this adherence to energy. But we need to go beyond energy in order to transcend energy. So once you are actually just the container of energy, then you know how to be the master of energy. And that download came to me as a very young woman. I just said, for no reason, I said, I want to be the master of energy. And wow, the path of that learning is not simple, because the eightfold path, even in yogic science, is not for nothing. Like perfectly adhering to a higher morality, to a very, right conduct of living, of purity and honesty and service. I mean, these are the basis of us mastering ourselves. This is
Hmm.
very basic.
Hmm.
And then the Kundalini has space to bloom,
Hmm.
you know, because it's not going to bloom if you're cluttering it with lies and whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, I think the energy has its place. Like, I can like recall very easily, like in dream state and dimension, working with energy, like, just creating. But I think what you're saying is, and I agree, I don't know what the word would be, consciousness
Hmm?
or spirit. It's the yeah, because for me it's always like human soul. I don't know what do you call it, but oversoul, spirit, all of it, conscious. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, that's always like that wink from the universe. Like you get that little wink,
Mm.
especially if you were like in the dark night of the soul or something was going down, right? Like to let you know. And it's, yeah.
So in phenomenologically speaking, what is enlivening matter? So
Mm,
if we just see that the whole multiverse is the body of the mother, then
yeah.
what is that spark? Because from its essence, energy energy is just expansive. It's giving itself, but it's inert. What is it? What is that thing or non-thing that starts moving it, starts animating it? So that is consciousness. Yes, we
Right. Right.
need, just like we are making ourselves, we're imbuing ourselves, our body, our hologram with consciousness, so that there can be this constant love making between the two, the consciousness with energy. But both are needed, both. And it's
Yeah.
a miraculous play,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we bought the ticket and got to take the ride, like the man said. uh,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so Keith said, Keith Hill, I struggle to feel the expansion of energy, but I can feel the expansion of consciousness.
Yes, he's more consciousness oriented.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that statement. It's a good statement. I think I
Because I
can relate.
usually teach that
Yeah.
somebody is either more energetic. Um,
Uh-huh.
well, you have a lot of energetic. ability.
I can feel both. I mean, I can relate to both, but I'm trying to remember. I can't relate to feeling an energetic expansion. Like many times, you know, and people talk about it, you're a giant. Like it's unmistakable, your body, you know. But that to me feels like energy, really. You know what I mean? But consciousness, that's a whole other thing. I mean, consciousness, you know, I'm in another universe somewhere, like, you know, instantly. We can do that. And I can feel that very deeply, especially if we have a pretty good communion or connection going. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's a beautiful story. It's a wild ride. It's everything. And that's probably why, you know, you hear a lot of people will come on the show or even other platforms and they'll talk about how this is the greatest show in the universe.
It is.
It's
It is
not for the,
because I like it that it's so impromptu and it's just friends talking, sharing soul. Just very simply, not adhering to any guidelines. And I really love that. I love that about you. Yeah. So thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you. Well, all blessings to you and your beautiful child, and good luck in all your endeavors. And maybe we'll do it again sometime
Yeah,
if
for
you're
sure.
open to it. And thank you very much for coming in and sharing space and you know, being with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd, for the invitation and
You're very
presence.
welcome. Very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you much.